Visit Hellsberg.com for safe and easy ways to shop this holiday, like free shipping and returns, virtual shopping appointments, or buy online and pick up in store. And right now, get a free Microsoft Surface Go 2 with the purchase of $1,499 or more. You gift, you get. Limited time offer while supplies last. See online or in store for details.
Greetings, nerds. This is Being a Nerd. I'm your host, Sarah Belmont, and with me, as always, is our Mr. Producer, Will Polk. How are you doing tonight, Will?
Doing very well, Sarah. Happy Monday. How are you doing this evening?
Happy Monday. We were just talking about how our Mondays sucked.
Yeah, well, you know, it's I'm trying to get some positive energy here. And happy early Thanksgiving, by the way.
You too, yes. Happy Thanksgiving to all, but more importantly, Merry Christmas for Wonder Woman.
Yes. Yes.
What are your thoughts that they finally caved on that?
So, you know, it's funny because we talked about this last week, the day before they made the announcement about the December 25th release on both HBO Max and also in the theater, and at least domestically, because internationally they are planning on releasing the film December 16th. But, you know, I joked with you via message over the weekend how the writing was on the wall. I just completely missed putting the clues together when HBO Max and Amazon cut a deal that the product, you know, they were able to get HBO Max finally on Amazon Fire devices because, you know, that and Roku are like the last two big streaming apps that were, or devices that were still hanging out there, and Roku is still doing so. I think they're just trying to work out some issues with, you know, revenue sharing and all that. But getting back to Wonder Woman itself, I was glad that they had finally made the decision, because one, the film, I looking at it again, you know, the film was actually done in like 2018. I mean, they finished filming then. And it's been since 2017, 2016 that from the first one. So, you know, at this juncture, we're getting close to 4 years, I think, 3 to 4 years since the original Wonder Woman came out. So, you know, that's a lifetime in this genre. And so I think they made the right decision, you know, to release it both on the streaming platform at HBO Max and also in the theater. Clearly, you know, folks really, really enjoy it and have that small screen experience whenever it is safe and people are comfortable going back to movie theaters, and it gets wider release in both New York and LA, which quite frankly, I think that's the main reason why they decided to go this route, because they were looking at what was going on with the COVID numbers and realizing that those places are going to be shut down again over, you know, for the foreseeable future, particularly over the Christmas holiday. So at this point, let's cut our losses, put it on there, see what we can make back as far as revenue. You know, there will be the international box office as well in places that do have COVID under control as well as you can. And, you know, they can make the money there and go for, you know, and then they'll probably maybe release it again at some point in 2021 when, you know, big markets.
Get released.
yeah, maybe.
I don't think they should do that.
Yeah.
I really don't see the benefit in re-releasing these films in theaters, because those who are able to hold out to whatever we've been in since March, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah.
It seems both just like it was yesterday and like it was 10 years ago. Yet I think that the impact that they're going to see in terms of HBO Max subscribers is going to be significant enough that I don't really see a point, because those who really wanted to see it will have seen it.
Yeah.
And a part of me is already accepted the fact that I don't think it's going to be a good movie. I have this suspicion just because of the way the third act of the first one ended.
Mm-hmm.
And also, like what you just said, they shot this and had this ready to go, or filmed at least, end of 2018. And yes, there's been COVID, but there was this time before COVID. I know we've all forgotten about that time period, but last year did happen.
It did. Yeah.
and this movie has had a few different release dates. So I don't think that the movies that start to drop on streaming services should get re-released in the theaters. I think the subscription route, I am excited, even though I have my doubts about the movie. Guys, I've always had doubts about DC. It's DC. I still am thankful that they're doing this, because I needed something, Will. I needed a win.
Yeah, we needed something. Yeah, we needed to have some content for the holidays, because it's the holidays. I mean, you know, you're looking forward to that big end of year release, and and typically in December we do get those big tentpole movies to enjoy over the holiday time. So I know, at least we'll have Wonder Woman to do for that over the Christmas holidays to watch, and then of course we'll get will be a good lead into WandaVision in January. And I did see where Marvel and Disney Plus are like, no, Black Widow is still going. They're still looking for that May 2021 box office release, and quite frankly, they don't need it at this point. I mean, they have enough properties with WandaVision and all of that, and enough subscribers on Disney Plus at this point where they don't need to do this kind of thing that Warner is trying to do with getting more subscribers to HBO Max.
It's not about what they need, Will. It's about what I need.
I know. It's what you need, and yeah, unfortunately, it's not. Black Widow is not going to be under your Christmas tree this year.
We'll see about that. In other DC related news, because that's all we ever seem to talk about.
I have some Marvel news on this timeline today. Don't worry.
All right, I'll get there. Images have been released of DC Titans and season 3, mainly Starfire's new costume. That's all I got. I didn't look at the images.
Oh, you didn't do your homework? Well, granted, it did come out today, but
I got home from a eye appointment that would never end, and I sat down and I ate, and I took a shower, and now we're here, Will. So no, I'm not, and we didn't even talk about my work day. I had a work day that basically, I swear to God, all I did was I looked at spreadsheets for 9 hours. That's it.
Well, I will. Well, go look at your timeline real fast. I did tag in a photo of Starfire's new costume because it is fire. I mean, it really, really is amazing what they have put together for her for this upcoming 3rd season, and it's well deserved because
it's all right.
I really like it.
You always really like these images, and what I see is Photoshop. That's all I ever see in poses like these. Show me an image of her shooting a scene in that outfit, and then we can really determine if it's good or not.
There is a still photo of her in the costume.
Did you tag me on that one? Because I don't see it.
Yeah, it's like 4 photos that I tagged you on. It's like 3 of them are like the
Yeah, that's the one that I see Photoshop on.
okay. Well,
That
yeah.
isn't a shot of her filming an actual scene in the TV show, Will.
Well, true. But I know it's a product. It's one of those stills. Better than some of the ones we saw from the Arrowverse whenever they were doing the Crisis on Infinite Earths photos. But I really like it. I think given one, she's probably one of the strongest, if not the strongest characters of that on that show for one.
Yeah.
So I think her, especially given that Starfire and of course this upcoming season, you'll have Blackfire as well, and we saw in the second season that dynamic as far as between the two of them, and so there's that. Also, she really didn't have. I know a lot of folks were grumbling early on with the costumes that they had from the first season. Whenever we did see some of those production stills of them filming scenes with her in the original costume that she had. So I think this is very fitting, and that they finally did do her right for this upcoming third season.
Yeah, I'm glad that this season's going to focus on Starfire, because although I liked season 2 more than season 1 of the show, I did note a absence of Starfire, and more importantly, an absence of scenes between her and Nightwing. So, if the writers can please refocus their attention to the stars of the show, that would be great. And I'm right there with you. Part of the reason why I like season 2 better is we know this season is going to be her versus Blackfire. And then we also know that we're going to have Red Hood appear. And so there's a lot of momentum. And I just can't wait to chuckle when they manage to screw it up.
No, I don't think they'll screw it up. I mean, I think, it'd be different if it were like the CW. But...
True. CW, it's still DC.
Well, no. DC on the small screen, their track record is a whole heck of a lot better than big screen.
It is a lot better. However, we'll just get into this news right now.
Yeah.
There is signs. I mean, whether you listen to the interview with Stephen Amell talking about his last day of shooting,
Yeah.
when you listen to Brandon Routh talk about how he was informed that both him and his wife would no longer be on Legends of Tomorrow, like it's still CW. It still all goes back to DC in my opinion, but I take your point. They have overall been fairly stable. And really where some of the quote unquote shadiness is from the announcement that this season of Black Lightning, season 4, will be the final season of the series, which came out as a surprise for all of us. But more importantly, it especially based on an interview done, it was a shock to the actors and the actresses on the show.
Yeah, it was a shock. I mean, I was just thinking, all the shows that we like just get canceled especially after they have good seasons or very positive media coverage. Like I was thinking how they really highlighted a lot of members of that cast on DC Fandom this past summer, and so. Yeah, Black Lightning canceled, and just like Krypton, hope at least they were able to they'll be able to finish out their story. It did seem to come as a surprise to everyone. I know China McClain, she did film her Instagram live over the weekend, and really shared a lot of things about not only one of the things of note was that she was already planning on leaving the series to begin with. This would have been her last season anyway, had they continued, and noted that we'll see fewer episodes with her in it this upcoming season because she was stepping back. There was also the fact that she did make some comments about things on the business side of the production that like as you noted, Stephen and Brandon's comments, that things aren't all hunky-dory. It seems like a lot of times behind the camera in the Berlantiverse with the way they handle certain personnel and other aspects of the work. So
and not to mention all of, like, a few years ago during the Me Too movement, showrunners got fired. And even in this last year, The Flash lost an actor due to tweets that were discovered. So
and even new series with the writer's room with Superman and Lois, issues that she raised about Me Too and some of the questionable arcs they were trying to, as far as some of the characters of color and other aspects of it. So so that's that's just on the TV side. We're not even getting into all the stuff with Ray Fisher. So
that's what I'm saying. Even on the TV side, their track record, I think, because when we compare the film with the TV or against the TV, the film, we have DCEU and the joke that it is. Sorry. It's my favorite tagline for that. But then we have that compared against CW verse, where there's just all of these shows, and as much as they've tried to make it a single universe, it still feels like they each have their own lane and their own world. So when you start to notice, like, oh, well, that happened on Legends, that doesn't mean that transpires over into the Flash or Arrow or Black Lightning. And then you notice a few months later something goes wrong with Flash, and then a year later something goes wrong with Black Lightning. You're like, wait a second, it's still all DC. It's still all under this umbrella of a studio. So I wonder if part of the problem is, since 2012, they've built a universe, but they've also built all of these different production offices with very similar people. I mean, the showrunner of Batwoman, Carolyn Dryers, she used to be a writer on Vampire Diaries.
Right.
Like, CW is a very small studio because they do manage to take writers and actors who they have used in the past and reuse them on other shows for and so sometimes you just manage to find the wrong person who over years may change and start to make the wrong decisions.
I think that's a very good point that you raised there, that the CW network is, they do, to their credit, grow their talent, but at the same time, in many cases, people do shift from production to production, and sometimes problem children will get moved from one show to another show, and the problems just sort of follow them. So again, this cancellation of Black Lightning, especially on the heels of the naming the Painkiller spinoff, it was just kind of like, oh, we were so excited, we're getting another show with another lead of color, and then boom, they like hit it, they blindside you with this other news. So it just definitely took a little bit of the shine off of the news about Painkiller from earlier in the week when you drop this kind of news.
I mean, no news is good news in 2020, but it was out of nowhere. We are also very accustomed to 5 seasons, 5 seasons max, these.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
get green light for season 2, you get 5 seasons. So the fact that this is a 4th season, and something else worth noting about that. Well, why 5 seasons? 5 seasons allows for syndication.
Exactly.
And so they're ending it at the end of the 4th season and no one has really explained why.
Yeah. I was trying to figure out, is it a situation where like Melissa, where maybe Cress wants to move on and we just haven't heard that, or, what's the situation here that they are ending the season, ending the show before that, like you said, that magic number of syndication. And I know, I saw a lot of people talking online about, well, clearly the show, will continue on Netflix and they'll continue to get money from that. But again, you still would want to have that magic 5 because there are other venues out there. I mean, I know Arrow, for example, I'll see it on TNT. I mean, which is another Warner property as far as the Warner Media Empire, but still, you do want to have that magic 100 so you can get that extra syndication dollars. Yeah,
it's just crazy, very, very, very strange. But regardless, we will be watching in the spring.
In February
is when our lineup comes back.
Yep.
Apparently, we have an in right now after a certain retweet took place.
Yeah, that was nice. Yeah, I was like, wow.
When I saw that, I nearly fainted. Oh my God. I don't know what this means, but I like it.
That was a nice little retweet last week. That was good to get noticed.
Good to get noticed. Yeah. She's like, I fat fingered it. All right. In other MCU news, it has been announced that Black Panther 2 will start filming in 2021, July. God, talk about a lifetime ago, Will, when first Black Panther came out. And this announcement, I mean, it's end of November. Chadwick passed in September, but still, it feels like, brace yourself.
Yeah,
Slow down. We're not ready to think about Black Panther 2 right now. We're just trying to make it through the year at this point.
Yeah, but it looks like they're planning on starting production on the second film in July of next year, and I guess it'll be a 6-month filming for the sequel. And of course, obviously, they will have to deal with the issue of Chadwick's passing, and even prior to that, folks were hoping that Shuri would have a larger role, and now with this, what happened with Chadwick will definitely they'll have to integrate that into the story. And I know they also had made some various casting announcements as well, with I think one of the actors from Narcos joining the production as one of the antagonists, and then of course on top of that, you'll still have the start of Thor in January in Australia. And so phase 4 is starting to move along, even though it got blown up this year by COVID.
Do you know who from Narcos? It's not Pedro, right?
No, it's not Pedro. It's Tinoch Huerta.
Okay, don't know. All right. Because there's a few from Narcos. The villain in not Wolverine, in Logan is from Narcos too.
Okay. And
he did a really good job in that role. So I was excited, and the name is on the tip of my tongue of the actor's name, which I also surprisingly know that he used to date Elizabeth Olsen, so that would have been an interesting tie-in. And I won't go down this rabbit hole anymore, but things I know. Anyways. I'm glad we're laughing now because the next bit of news is just all comedy. Deadpool 3 has hired a writer. The Molyneux?
Molyneux sisters, yeah, from Bob's Burgers.
Yeah. Well, I hope they appreciate when Ryan Reynolds just ad-libs all of his lines.
Yep, exactly.
He is just put Deadpool says something.
Exactly. Yeah. That's the line. That's the script.
We just got casting announcements. Jeez. Stranger Things 4 has announced that Freddy Krueger actor Robert Englund is coming to the show.
Yeah. Well, the show is set in the 80s, so you might as well bring Freddy Krueger.
No, we don't. We do not bring things that terrified Sarah when she was a little girl to Stranger Things, okay? We don't do it.
Yes, we do.
I just hope that suddenly, like a few days later, we have an actor who played Jason. Because for those who have not seen Freddy vs. Jason, do not see it. It is a horrible movie.
Yeah.
It is really, really bad and not scary. So no, don't do that. But
yeah. Well, I guess
Stranger Things, the one thing that I will take away from this though is they need to insert something new.
Yeah.
I think season 2 kind of was a weird parallel to season 1, and I think a lot of people got upset because it felt like so much of the same. Mm-hmm. And then season 3, I know you and I both really liked.
Yeah.
And it was solid, and it was partly solid because of Maya Hawke's. And a few other characters and of course a lovely duet of Never Ending Story. But we also know when it ended, it was kind of like, okay, but we're not going to have the same villain next season, right? So maybe this is fingers crossed and a hint that this season will have a new villain, a new story to tell.
Yeah. I mean, I won't go down all the. I mean, there's because they onboarded like about 8 new people in the cast for this upcoming season. But I guess Englund's character, his name is Victor Creel, who is a disturbed and intimidating man who was imprisoned in a psychiatric hospital for a gruesome murder in the 1950s. Okay. So,
got it.
Yep.
Ready? Or actually, is it Jason?
Is it Michael Myers?
Is it Psycho?
Is it Chucky?
There would be stranger things. Yeah. Ava Duverany created a new limited series called DMX based on the DC Comics series. Has it been picked up?
Yes. Yeah, it's been picked up. It's set to I think start filming, I believe, this upcoming year. And Rosario Dawson is also going to be has a part in it. Is one of the leads, as well as Benjamin Bratt. And so it's a limited series going to be on HBO Max. Her first show that she's going to be producing over there. And it was a DC comic that was that very dystopian story, as you can imagine, something called DMX, which is for demilitarized zone, and basically where America has had a bitter civil war, and it's kind of close to life, but basically it chronicles Dawson's character trying to rescue her son that she lost whenever they were trying to evacuate New York City at the beginning of the conflict.
Rosario. Yeah. We'll see. She's going to be Ashoka in a few episodes of Mandalorian, so We'll see if she falls retains in favor with the public or falls out of favor with the public? Because I know there's been so much debate about her casting announcement.
Yeah. Well, she can't, as long as she doesn't do any crazy things on social media, Gina Carano, then she should be okay.
Yeah, well, Ava DuVernay, like, at this time, she's very similar to Shonda Rhimes.
Yeah.
Like, when does this lady sleep?
Never. I think she's like cranking out content. Like, I mean, she's got like her deal with Netflix. You know, she's got this one at HBO Max, and she's got another DC project that she was going to be working on too.
Is she trying to rival The Rock?
I think as far as on the production side, yeah, she is.
As long as she doesn't announce something in 2014 that takes until 2021 to start filming, she'll be fine.
Exactly.
Oh, man. Speaking about other crazy directors, producers, those who can do it all, Terrence Winter has left the upcoming Batman movie HBO Max spinoff over creative differences. Of course.
Yeah. I felt for you. You know, one, I was like, okay, should I put anything about the Batman on the thing, but just to drive, you know, the knife a little harder and poor Sarah about the movie itself not coming out to 2022. And then I was like, we got to at least acknowledge this, that creative differences have led for him to leave the project. So this, yeah.
I'm not upset about that because this is some weird spin-off. I have no buy-in, doesn't feature RPATs. I thought that they were jumping the gun way too soon when they announced the project.
Yeah.
And now to see creative differences. Oh, those were the days, Will, when we would talk about the news and things would get all twisted because of creative differences and not because of COVID.
Exactly.
We're very used to the creative differences excuse.
I saw that. I was like, when I saw creative differences, I was like, oh, this is, the normal things that normally happen with projects. As far as the good old days of tone and creative differences over my version of Gotham is not what your version of Gotham is. So, yeah, but you're right, though. I think it was a bit premature and with them to do this even before the film was released. But, again, I think everybody is trying to build these shared universes between the small screen and the big screen. Yeah.
They say creative differences right now, Will. We'll see how long that excuse lasts. Because these days, it starts off creative differences, and then before you know it, there's a lawsuit.
Yeah. Or the project is canceled. It's been on the shelf for a while.
Yeah, it's put on the shelf, We don't even know how the Batman will do.
Yeah.
We would know sooner if they had stuck with the original release. Yeah. Oh, man. Ken and Jennings will begin guest hosting Jeopardy in light of Alex Trebek's passing, and emphasis on guests, which means there's still a chance for Josh McCouga. Will is a genius when he writes these news rundowns because that's a very happy thought for us.
Yes, it is.
Who are you texting? My therapist. You text with your therapist? Text, video chat, call. Yep. That sounds too easy. How did you find her? I just went to betterhelp.com/save. She's a licensed therapist and it's all online. I connect when it's convenient for me and don't waste time driving anywhere. Plus, it's affordable. I wonder if I should try it. It's great to talk to someone in confidence. She's helped me sort out quite a few things. And right now you save 10% off the first month when you go through betterhelp.com/save. BetterHelp.com/save. Got it.
Cozy up for the holidays with 60% off everything at Banana Republic Factory, including soft sweaters, comfy pajamas, must-have gifts, and more from $9.99. Find your nearest store now, only at Banana Republic Factory. Get 50 through 70% off almost everything at Gap Factory and GapFactory.com. Plus, shop new doorbusters for the family, including outerwear, jeans, and our Gap logo crew neck sweatshirt. Find it all at Gap Factory or GapFactory.com through December 14th.
Yes, it is.
I think that is it for the news.
Yeah. I know we had quite a bit this week. I know we went a little long with it, but it was a very packed week before the holiday.
Yeah. Did you see the Miss Marvel images?
I did.
Yeah. I am surprised they're filming.
Yeah, I was. That caught me by surprise too when I saw it on Just Jared. That they had those still photos from the production. I was like, whoa, they are not wasting any time getting this thing going.
Yeah. I was just, what?
Yeah, I was that. Yeah, I didn't even. I mean, I know they cast her.
Like,
I remember. Yeah, I know they casted her and everything, but I didn't. That's like, boom, they're like moving right along as far as filming. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, that brings us to our main event. The Mandalorian Season 2, Episode 4, The Siege. Will, what did you think about this episode?
I enjoyed it. I did. I really like Carl Weathers' direction of this episode. I missed the camera guy, the crew member in the scene there, a la Game of Thrones, as far as unexpected things to show up. But overall, it had a lot of a New Hope feel to it, as far as some of the classic bits from previous Star Wars. And I guess the thing that I'm finding about The Mandalorian at this point, and why I think so many people do enjoy it, is because it does have that familiarity to it, which can be a good thing and can be a bad thing. The good thing is where I thought the beats that they had, and just a lot of the callbacks to various aspects we've seen in prior films. The predictable nature of it, though, is like Mando being such a bad dad or caretaker of Baby Yoda. I mean, starting out the show with the cold open with them trying to fix the Razor Crest getting from point A to point B, and him and the wires. It was a cute little moment and stuff, but it was predictable. It was very funny. I laughed. Don't get me wrong. I think this is probably the first episode in a while I've had throughout that I did have some laugh out loud moments with like that, and then also when they were on the school in Navarro. But at the same time, hopefully we're not falling into the trope where this is going to happen like all the time, because it will get very old very, very quickly if they overdo it. So those are my overall quick top line impressions of the episode.
Yeah, I'm mixed about this episode. I'm very, very mixed. And I was thinking about it earlier today, and I think that the quality is there. Mm-hmm. The writing is there. The character moments are there. I think this season, more so than last season, they have really taken a 3-hour movie mm-hmm. and diced it up into half-hour segments.
Yeah.
Which is both good and bad. It's good because that's what we want. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, we love TV. We love how you can return to the story that you started the previous week and get the next chapter. I mean, they literally call these episodes chapters. It's bad because a part of me just wants to wait until it's all said and done and binge it. And maybe that's because last weekend I had a lovely Sunday and I watched all 10 hours of the Crown. But I feel like they really are telling a story from start to finish that for me almost gets interrupted. And some Fridays when I sit down to watch it, I'm like, oh, I don't know if I want to, or where were we? What's going on? I like that they got rid of the sand, but now all I see is water everywhere. So I'm mixed. I'm also mixed because I don't know what it was about this episode, and I really should have rewatched it. I really should have. I'm going to be very honest right now.
Okay,
I
go
want
ahead.
no judgment. I don't really think I watched the episode well. I was online shopping during it, and I got very so I picked up a few bits. I definitely heard the information about what the child is for,
Mhm.
and the plans and the intentions and potential tie-ins to other things we've seen and other pictures. But I'm pretty sure I missed a lot of the episode.
Well, it was a very fast episode, pacing wise, and there was a lot shoved in it. So if you missed anything, it's either it's to be forgiven. I think maybe. I was thinking while you were talking about how they have divided this up into chapters and dropping it week to week, and I thought back to The Boys and our discussions with it.
Yeah.
And also now that I'm watching The Crown, and one of the things that I think with what I'm liking about The Mandalorian and The Boys and them dropping episodes week to week to week, is it gives you the episode time to breathe.
Yeah.
And really and like this week's episode, for example, there were a lot of things that they did throw in there. I mean, there was the callback to season 1 with
That
bringing
the prisoner guy.
the prisoner guy, yeah, and how he is now Grief Karga's assistant on Navarro, and also again building the world and how Navarro now, Cara Dune and Grief are administrators of it and trying to clean up the remnants of the empire that are still there, and how again we've seen this continual through line in the stories about how things are, how still kind of the wild west in the Outer Rim, and which again reinforces the whole Western themes and that the Mandalorian has leaned in on in both the first and second season. So so there's those aspects of it that I think if I binge this series, I don't think I would be able to pick up all those little nuances and those finer points of the story that I am able to do whenever you watch this series week to week. And and the biggie, of course, was the potential tie-in to Rise of Skywalker, and the and also cringe moment here, but the whole midichlorians.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Two of things that fans have always loved.
Yeah.
They decided.
Exactly. They're like, we're gonna. Yeah.
I do disagree with you, and here's why. Because, and The Boys is a great example. The Boys, I agreed that it was best served week to week, but those episodes were long, and there was a lot of nuance. And we're talking about also just the gore aspect, and some of the storylines, like they went really deep into racism and systemic racism this season.
Yeah,
they had a Nazi on the show. There was a lot to take in. Now, I'm not saying that Star Wars is not deep, but I do think when we say nuance with The Mandalorian, we are talking about geek nuance, where it's much more like the Easter eggs, the subtle nods. I mean, I was listening to a Christian Harloff break down the episode with Mark Riley, and they were freeze framing things and pointing out things on the walls and all this stuff. And that is great. But I don't think that type of indulgence changes if this was just released as a 3-hour movie as opposed to 10 half-hour segments.
Yeah, but I think the thing is, I mean, I get what you're saying, and I know for casual fan that I mean, not everybody has to be like the Harloffs and the Rileys of the world where they're like, getting so wrapped around the axle with, oh, you see that's image of that droid that looks like 3PO on the mural there on the wall. I mean, I'm not talking about that, but I do think there are, not to that level of geekiness, but there are some bigger points that I think, even though, as I said, cringeworthy, they brought back the midichlorians from Phantom Menace and the Gideons and the Pershings cloning, needing that to tie to the potential down the line with Rise of Skywalker. Those and other story aspects that we saw in these episodes, and even to me, I feel like if I just powered through in a binge watch, I will get that rush and the evolve and just seeing the story and everything, but I just don't feel like I would. I feel like I would be missing something if I did it that way.
Yeah. I go back and forth. I think at this point with me, I think it's very interesting to listen to the diehards talk about this season, because episode 3, the infamous spider episode, seems to be something almost a litmus test.
Yeah.
Because for me, looking back on that episode, it had so much character as much as it was action packed. It had so many beats about character. And then we also have the passenger and how that fed into what we had already talked about, that this idea that you have two people who are trying to reconnect with their own kind. You have the Mandalorian and you have the child, and then you have this frog lady who's trying to preserve her race, which is very interesting. And maybe they'll do some really cool things now that we're hitting on this cloning, this mortality aspect of the lore and what that means. But that episode doesn't seem to be one that sticks out for the diehards, which I think is fascinating, because I'm like, what? But there was so much character. It was so interesting. It didn't feel like it was fan service. It didn't feel like, oh, let's purposely draw this image of this person on the wall so those who have watched all these other things will get it.
Yeah. Now I know, I get you. I mean, like last week, that was true. Like that was a reward for those hardcore fans who watch everything. This week, I felt had some of those moments, but not so much. And there were some things that I was reading an article about Gideon's Stark Troopers at the end of the episode. So yeah, there was the obvious tie-ins, but then the Gideon's soldiers that he was building do tie back to the extended universe for a super soldier type of stormtrooper. And so you did have that again. And I know Favreau has talked about how he and Filoni have really are digging deep into the Star Wars universe and bringing a lot of these things to life in the Mandalorian. So I think it is for those fans like the Harloffs and the Rileys of the world. They really will get a lot out of that and can break it down and freeze frame each scene and give us all, for those folks who want to go there and give you that, there is that analysis that's out there. But then, fans like you and I who are, we like Star Wars, we really enjoy it, and maybe, and not as steeped into the extended universe and animated universe of Clone Wars and Rebels and other things. So, it's still, there's still a lot there that we talk about and can break down, and
like the macaroons. Let's talk about the macaroons.
Exactly. How about the so Yoda's
something else that I felt like the episode didn't do more of. They could have chopped all of Cara Dune's stuff, because I think they just placed an awkwardly weird emphasis on her character.
Yeah.
Not realizing what would transpire within a few months.
Yeah. Okay, so good. I wasn't the only one who had problems. It was hard to separate the actress and the character.
Well, I really did space out of all of her stuff.
And if she were a better actress, then maybe I could have overlooked those other things. But then we have all that, and then but I won't. I don't want to get too political. I'll stop there.
Yeah. And meanwhile, we put the child in a classroom with real kids, and he immediately starts bullying people.
Yeah.
he really is hungry all the freaking time.
He is. He's not so lovable whenever it's that when the hunger urges rear their ugly head. And but it's very interesting. Whenever we were first introduced to Yoda, he was also somewhat of a bully, and and stealing Luke's food and banging R2-D2 with the crane, his cane and stuff. So I think mischievous behavior definitely is a trait of Yoda's species.
So here's where my mind went immediately during that. Is I thought they were going to do more of it, incorporate more of him finally around other children, but children who don't look like him, and also who, in that interaction, it's like, oh, my first time interacting with other children after I've spent all of this time with Mando. And then we were going to see some images, and they kind of got there when he stole the macaroons, but about how by him going on these missions with Mando, who's a bounty hunter, he's somewhat been corrupted.
Yeah.
And that's what I was really hoping for. And so when they drop him off, there's that interaction with macaroons, and then next thing we know, Mando has him again. I'm just like, what the heck?
Yeah.
Great setup. I don't know why they didn't do more. And then at this point, between the last two episodes, I'm just like, Jesus, Mando, hire a damn babysitter.
Exactly.
You're just dropping the kid here, and here.
Yeah, I guess Mando's gotten over his issue with droids, because he felt totally comfortable leaving them in a school full.
Well, either get a babysitter or actually let the child be a part of the missions, because I'm tired of these weaker plot points where he just gets left someplace, and you think they're gonna do more, and then it's just we have to have a reason for the child not to be on the screen. It's like, what the heck? Yeah.
True. And then, and like you said, then conveniently he somehow, like this episode, he jets off, takes care of the stormtroopers on the top, and then somehow gets the kid, gets the refurbished Razor Crest, and then comes back and saves the day as far as shooting down the TIE fighters. So, Yeah.
Right.
It's I think to your point that there was too much trying to be done in a very short amount of time, and it does like point out how irresponsible he is with the kids sometimes.
Yeah. Well, he certainly has to be a protective father soon, because this episode did do a good job of setting up and reminding you Moff Gideon is the villain of the series, and he has planted a tracking device on Mando.
Imagine that.
And
where have we seen that before?
we'll be seeing them collide within the next episode or two, and more importantly, the next episode is called The Jedi.
Yeah.
Jedi.
Yeah. We're getting
something I do have to remind myself is last season, I wasn't immediately impressed, and then they had a few episodes that really started going, and this season is fine. Fine. I think I'm being a bit picky now that we're hitting like that midway point.
Yeah. Well, I think it's fair to be picky. I mean, it's a very good series, but like anything, it does has its flaws, and I think it's totally fine to point those out. But at the end of the day, it's an enjoyable ride, and as I said at the very beginning, I think I had, with all the little Easter eggs and all the callbacks to various things from like A New Hope and some of the other aspects of other films. It was I really I enjoyed this episode, and I really thought Carl Weathers did a really good job of directing it.
It was all right.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
All right. Well, any update on The Crown?
Yeah, making our way through it. It's I think up to episode 4 now, and really enjoying it. But I see when you gave your thoughts last week about the dynamic they set up with the story with Charles and Diana.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely fully totally get that, and seeing how they're painting them. But I've really enjoyed it. I think the actress playing Diana really captures a lot of her mannerisms and things. I thought they so far underplaying her fact that she was in the aristocracy as well, that she wasn't like Kate Middleton, for example, who Kate really was more of a commoner than, and they're kind of playing that. They try to play that up a little bit with Diana and trying to gloss over the fact that her father was an earl and he wasn't, an aristocracy. But I've enjoyed things so far, even though the CGI on the stag had much to be desired. But this show's not here for the special effects.
No. Yeah. What about Margaret Thatcher's husband?
I love Dennis.
I know, right?
He's great.
So funny.
Yeah. Dennis is great, and just the right reality check and humor for how how proper and how, well, not proper, but how awkward sometimes Margaret seems, and how rigid she is in her approach to things. I mean,
I could spend hours talk about nuance.
Yeah.
And you've already watched this episode, so I have no problem saying it out loud. But in the second episode, when they go visit the royal family in Scotland, and they are so confused by all of the procedures and processes, and something that stuck out to me was when Margaret gets upset that the maid has started to unpack Dennis's suitcase.
Yeah.
She doesn't say he can do it himself. He says that is what a woman, that is what a wife is supposed to do for their husband.
Yeah.
And there's and I was talking to my parents about this because they just wrapped up the season. Will is just really slow. And there's something very fascinating about Margaret and how she's portrayed in this series, because for someone who has risen to that level of power in a male dominated political sphere during a time that yeah, it wasn't the 1950s, but I mean, social change like that is hard. So women were still thought to be lesser than, but still at the same time play into the gender role to the point where she says that line. And there's a few episodes where you see some other things where it's like, as much as she's a woman who's strong and independent, she very much tries to make sure that she still abides by those roles of what a wife should be during that time, it's just fascinating.
Yeah. It really, that was a very fascinating moment there when they had that particular scene. So yeah, that definitely shows the dichotomy as far as what was going on in her private life. Yeah.
The more I think about this season, I do think it was my favorite season of The Crown so far. And it's not just because of Princess Diana and Charles. It's because of Margaret Thatcher, and it takes a while to fully get what they were doing. It really took into the very last scene that she's in, and I'm just like, I get it now.
Yeah.
I totally understand what they were trying to do, and they did it.
Yeah. Well, also the thing too that I'm liking so far with this season is how you have, before it was just singularly focused on the Queen and her, to your point about how a woman deals with the very male dominated situation with royalty and finding her place. But now we're having two women who are adjusting to the acquisition of power and how it influences and shapes how they live their lives, and that being Margaret Thatcher and Diana. So it's been seeing these early episodes, seeing how both of them are adjusting to the royalty and then also governing, as far as the case with Thatcher, and Di figuring out her place in the royal family and the dynamics there, as it is shaping up. Have obviously still have a ways to go, but it is shaping up to be a very, very strong season.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. There's a reason why this season on the posters featured images of these three women, because they are a triangle, and a lot of triangles exist in this season, and they do expand. You see all of Elizabeth's children this season, which is funny. There's so much. Like, there's a line that I want to say out loud, but I want you to experience the line, and you're not going to get there until the very end. But if people have not checked out The Crown, jump ahead, go straight into season 4. It's worth it. I definitely recommend it. The more I think about it, the more I almost just want to re-binge it, because it's a very well constructed story.
Cool.
The Right Stuff.
Yeah, season finale. We finally have a launch, and I like the finale. It was good. We finally, we do have, spoiler alert, Alan Shepard's launch. They were able to focus on some of the other characters a little bit more this episode with Gordo and Trudy and their continued difficulties in their marriage, and Deke Slayton, how his health condition, how he was able to find a place in the astronaut corps. And But of course, it comes back. Obviously, always comes back to John Glenn and Alan Shepard. But I liked where they left things with them at the end of this season, and looking forward to season 2. I thought again. I did note that the series kind of starting to run out of steam a little bit with last 2 episodes leading to the finale, but it was a very satisfying season finale.
Yeah, I agree. I haven't been on board with like the last episode and a half or 2 episodes. But this episode, I appreciate how they concluded the season. I thought the announcement, Kennedy's speech about getting a man on the moon was a great way to end it.
Yep.
And kind of build excitement that maybe this series is not just about the Mercury 7, but also gets expanded upon just this whole space division in general and NASA, and which is interesting. I think if I was in that writer's room, though, the takeaway would be, or if I was a showrunner, it would be, you need to have the Shepard and Glenn tension, but you have so many characters, and there's so many stories that you need to start figuring out a better balance to how to retain the ensemble, and allow these other characters to tell their stories. Because, for example, in this finale, when they, and I don't even know the character's name, like that's how bad it is. But when he, I guess he, due to medical reason.
Yeah, Deke Slayton. Yep.
Yeah. I could not remember his name.
Yeah.
I felt like it was kind of random, but I vaguely recall when he was rejected. But still, they didn't give enough. They should have placed more emphasis at the beginning. So it felt like when he was removed, it was a bigger, there was more loss. And there's definitely room to grow. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that is it for us tonight. Why don't you tell our listeners where they can find you?
Yes, you can find me at Will M. Polk, WILLMPOLK.
And you can find me at SJ Belmont, SJBELMONT. Please follow our crew on Twitter at CNN Nerd. Friend us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram. But most importantly, rate, subscribe, and comment on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. Good night, Geek Out. You're welcome.